Welcome to Vision Plus, a program featuring a positive outlook, dealing with everyday situations of marriage, children, and business. Believing Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Teacher, author, speaker, delighting audiences from New York to Sacramento with a heart and message for the people today. Bonnie would like to remind you of the 800 number on the screen. Please feel free to call at any time throughout the broadcast and share your concerns. Leave your prayer request and someone will pray with you. And now, teacher, author, and speaker, Bonnie.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Vision Plus. Without a vision, the people perish. And you're going to hear something that I think is so exciting about what's going on around the world. I want you to hear what is happening in China and around the world. And so we have the person that's in charge, the president from China Aid, and we're going to give you tell you how to help him. And he says that he speaks Chinglish. Chinese and English, Chinglish. I love that. And then, of course, we are going to agree with Brother Cox that we are illiterate in 4 languages. We had the great opportunity of meeting this person as a result of him coming to Huntsville, Alabama, the Huntsville-Madison area, because of the people, the martyrs, and the information that was given to, I believe it was Asbury Methodist Church, and it was just exciting that he came to our church, and then we had the wonderful opportunity to have lunch with him, and we want you to have be fed also. And if you'd like to get in touch with him, we will tell you how to get in touch with China Aid. And so, Bob Few he told me ABD, has his doctorate all but the dissertation. So maybe all the work we're doing now will help happen. He was, right after, around 1988, 89, when Tiananmen Square happened, he was involved in some of those things. And one of the things he told us this morning is that at one time there were maybe known 700,000 or more Christians in China, but now there may be as many as I think it was 18 million. Who knows? Maybe 130 million. So we're going to find out a little bit about that. He said he was. Of course, we all know from previous things that it's supposed to be illegal to be a Christian in China. But of course, Nora Lamb and so many people were able to go over there, and we even have people that we know that are over there as English professors, visiting professors. So we want you to just see maybe how you could help, but more than anything, the privilege of just being able to watch a television show in the United States that gives you the freedom to do what you want to do, marked out by our Constitution, and the way the Lord Jesus Christ saved us from our sins, and we're so happy about that. He calls himself maybe 007, so let's find out a little bit about it. Welcome to this area, Huntsville, Madison, Alabama.
Thank you,
Bonnie, and wherever anybody's watching over the internet. And so tell us a little bit about your background. Well, let's just start with the basics. How did you become a Christian?
Yes, thank you, Bonnie, for having me. And
yes.
It's such a pleasure and privilege, actually, to be here and also have attended the church with you and fellowship with all of you here. And I was raised in China, and from my childhood, a seed of change is plotted really in my heart, because my mom was a beggar, and
a beggar?
A beggar.
She
until
actually
she met with my dad.
Uh-huh.
And she, because of the starvation in the 1960s, and her ex-husband could not really afford food and shelter when she had my elder brother and elder sister. So she had to beg food for really several years until she
just actually on the street,
on the street.
food begging.
Yeah, with two
And
children.
With 2 children. Oh,
And so she actually contracted with the lung disease because of lack of food, you know, and also
lung disease.
lung, yeah,
Uh-huh.
in her lungs, coughing all the time, and then until she met with my dad, who was also a disabled man, and then my self and my another sister was born with in the family, and so you can tell, you know, being born and raised in this kind of economic situation, the social status was very low, and I was constantly bullied by my fellow peers and classmates.
Bullied.
Yeah,
That's a big
bullied.
challenge in the United States, bullying.
Peer pressure, yeah. And so I always, you know, wondering why, you know, other people were treated better, you know, I was not, and I thought it's an economic problem. So I wanted to become a millionaire, actually, when I was a little child. And then I felt, well, maybe, I mean, when I was in high school, I felt, well, maybe the real change can only come when you become a government leader. So in 1987, when I was about to graduate from high school, I declared I want to become the first freely and democratically elected prime minister in 20 years in order to fulfill my China changing dream. And then, you know, in 1989, when the Beijing students started protesting and in the Tiananmen Square for anti-corruption, you know, human rights and democracy.
Against the
regime.
communist regime.
Yeah, want to reform China.
Yeah, Tiananmen
So
Square.
I became very actively involved, and I was the third-year student. So I organized our university students, went to Tiananmen Square, occupied part of the Tiananmen Square, and.
Now were you a communist at the time?
At that time, I was sort of almost a Communist Party member, but I was the president of the Students' Union in my department of English literature, and so
That was your major in college.
yeah.
wasn't it?
So I was very, very loyal to the Communist Party. At the time, I thought, you know, I could at least by joining the party to change the party for good. And then what had happened in early morning of June 4th, 1989, as you have seen and watched on TV,
Oh, yes.
you know, Chinese military
already.
sent tanks and machine guns, started killing its own people. That really broke our dreams for that generation. So I came to know the Lord during in the winter of 1989 because
Well, who
of the
actually talked to you about it, or how did that come about?
Actually, yeah, I did not really learn much about Christianity because in our whole school education system, I mean, the only place mentioned about Christianity is Marxism, Leninism's mention about religion is the opium of the people, how Christianity was used as an imperialist, method to brainwash Chinese people, to advance Westernization agenda, on and on. It's all negative, and so I was really very apprehensive, and so I actually used to lead or debate with our American Christian teacher, who tried to share a little bit of Christian faith after class.
After class?
Yeah. So in the class, they're totally forbidden to talk about anything religion. So after class, they try to share a little bit their life story, their faith, and so we, always had a clash of civilizations. So I led our team, and he used his little, maybe a pocket Bible thing. So we use we call it Always Learning dialectic materialism, and we could not find a solution after the debate. So we always declared, okay, maybe God is an American God, so we don't need to import an American God to help us. What we only need is Microsoft and McDonald's.
And you have the largest one in the world there, 3,000 people it'll take care of one.
Yes. And so we were...
But that wasn't the answer either, was it?
No,
McDonald's? Okay.
No, I mean, and then later that year, I was, of course, being investigated, being persecuted politically after the crackdown and the massacre. And during that moment, I found some of my fellow friends, I regard them as my buddies, betrayed me, and they even betrayed me by telling lies. So
what were they saying about you?
They basically made up stories that to tell the authorities
that you were a
I
Christian?
did not do. No, it was about students' movement. So the government was launching a very harsh crackdown and investigation campaign, basically trying to get everyone who involved the students' movement to confess their wrongful, their actions. So those friends, betrayed me by telling the authorities something that I did not do. And so I was full of anger, and I wanted to commit a suicide bomb campaign to kill them, kill myself. I felt helpless and hopeless. And it was that really moment God rescued me.
How did that happen?
It was through reading a book.
Reading a book?
Yeah, and it was not a Bible. It was a Bible? No, it was a biography of Chinese pastor.
Oh,
and
what was that Chinese pastor's name?
His name is Xi Shengmo.
Okay.
He was a drug addict, but extremely smart intellectual. It happened in 1910 or 1920s of China. So when British missionaries sent by Hudson Taylor's group.
Oh yes, I was a Taylor.
Yeah,
that's our heritage.
Yeah, shared the gospel with him, and he came to know the Lord, and not only get rid of his drug addict, but also he was able to be used by God, setting up many drug prevention centers, help hundreds of thousands of people.
In China.
In China, that was it's before communist power. So that story, the book was smuggled in by my American English teachers. And so I was given that book, and immediately, God used that book. I mean, just convicted.
You knew it was real. You knew it was real.
Yeah.
Actual.
It was just, convicted me totally.
So who did you tell? Did you learn to start praying or reading?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, I didn't know how to even formally become a Christian. In the communist system, you always have a swearing ceremony, pledge of allegiance to the communism, nationalism.
So you didn't know how to become a Christian?
No, and I went to an American teacher the next day after, that night I read that book and had my own prayer and conversion experience, and I said, I saw a light. I wanted to become a follower of Jesus, and he was shocked, and he thought I was a KGB, trying to send me to investigate his secret mission activities. And then after reading my testimony, he asked me to write. He knelt on the floor. And my American teacher, who was from California, and said, let's pray. So he led me to Christ the second day. And since then, I have never been ashamed of being called the follower of Jesus Christ.
You have so many things, and you've got to go on that ChinaAid.org.
ChinaAid.org.
And find out more, because I can tell we're not going to have time in his Chinglish to go through it. But you did get to go and actually received the, kind of having to jump over here, the Nobel Peace Prize for a person that was a good friend of yours and that you were helping. Tell us a little bit about, now you later married and had, tell about how you met your wife, Heidi.
Yeah, Heidi, she was my classmate when we were in college.
Mm-hmm.
We were in the same year, same classroom, and so we. She became naturally my first target of evangelism. I want to share the best, the good news, So I after I came to the Lord, I immediately shared with her, and she persecuted me for for a very short time, only 1 week.
Only 1 week.
1 week.
1 week of persecution.
Yeah. So that's very short until she was also convicted and surrendered her life to our Lord Jesus Christ. And so that's we got married a few years later, and now we're in the U.S.
I understand that you had a shower baptism, and some of your friends had ice baptisms because you baptize anywhere that you can.
Yes,
and it's mostly home churches. I have a friend
Yes.
here, Curtis and Joyce Duncan. They have a home church. They think that's the future that we're going to be going to.
Absolutely.
And then you said also there were 200 or 300 Bible studies in the university.
Yeah, in many
in
universities.
China.
Yes, in many universities.
Now, was this really accurate? That I understand, because that there is now maybe as many as 18 million Christians, or
80
million.
80 to 130 million.
Oh, okay, 80 to 130 million. It's so amazing. But you said also the head of the higher ups may be morally bankrupt, and I wanted you to tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll jump back to your marriage in just a minute. But what do you mean moral bankrupt?
Well, by moral bankruptcy is after 60 years of communism, brainwash ideology, and now, after 20 years of opening up to the outside world, Chinese communism is no longer the original or same version of communism anymore. So they now invite the capitalists join the Communist Party. They call it red capitalist, and the even
capitalist.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to basically because they don't have any moral resource to look for or to find to help the people, because people already feel distant and dissatisfied, and after experiencing and watching the atrocities, the inhuman treatment of human being under this very evil ideology of communism, and the communism also destroyed the Chinese traditional values, and they destroyed and discarded them as backward, and all of a sudden there is a value vacuum now in the Chinese society. People really now do not know what is right, what is wrong.
So they might have a wife and a few girlfriends.
Oh yeah, I mean, every communist party now, we can safely say the medium to high level officials, they have this, wives and concubines, and the almost 100% are pretty much corrupted. Otherwise, they cannot survive in the Communist Party system. Mm-hmm. And the corruption is unhealable already. Mm-hmm. It's like cancer. It's every official, many said, if China, arrest and execute all the mid-rank to the top level of Communist Party leaders, there won't be any people claim they are innocent.
Mm-hmm. And if only we had time to tell about how you went to prison, you and your wife at the same time, and the same day, and you got out the same day, which is so amazing. And then the unbelievable story of her pregnancy and the miracle of your being able to be what the Marine call carry the guidon, or the flag. Tony was a Marine, and that you took the flag, and they didn't realize who you were, but you were English speaking.
Yeah.
So you got to be in charge of this whole group.
Yes.
And
yes.
your wife is pregnant, but you can't tell anyone that's your
No.
wife.
No.
But yet you were afraid, and she fainted in the elevator onto your shoulder,
Yes,
I think.
yes,
and
yes.
but somebody had some smelling sauce, we would call
Yeah,
it, salt,
yeah.
and revived her.
Sure.
But you got them toured around. It was Hong Kong,
Yes, in Hong
and
Kong.
you were there, and you said after a while, the next day, you said, "Go shopping, go wherever you want to," and then you and your wife sneaked away. Then
Yes, that's
in the
always
middle of
it.
the night.
Yes.
And now these churches that are meeting in China meet very early in the morning. Home churches, maybe way out in the rural area, 5 to 7 a.m.
Yes.
or very late at night, maybe close to midnight. that
Yes,
they're
yes,
meeting.
that's
Mhm.
true.
And yet they're growing. And then I understand that they were trying to rent a place for maybe 1,000 people.
Yes,
and
yes.
they kept getting closed down.
Yes.
Oh, they were going to rent a place, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's not available.
That's true.
Not available.
Mhm.
Not available because they said, I know it's going to be for a Christian organization.
Yes,
So
yes,
there.
yes.
Now, what about you decide to have it in the park?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's
Huh?
Next week, April 10th.
Okay, this may be
in
shown
Beijing.
after that time, but we
Uh-huh.
want to hear more about
Yeah,
what all went
April
on there.
10th. Yeah.
Mhm. And then now, if we have an opportunity to get you over here to the United States, maybe the next part 2 we can do that. But I wanted to quickly you tell me about your going to Washington D.C. The Clintons became friends of yours, and so you meet in Washington. In fact, that the last day of Bush. Tell me about the last day of Bush's day in office, and you were
Yeah.
able to shrink 7 years down to 11 days to
Yes,
help.
yes,
Who was
yeah.
that for?
Yeah, that was for the most prominent Chinese human rights lawyer, lawyer Gao Zhisheng. And he's also a Christian. His wife and children escaped from China to Bangkok, Thailand, in the January of 2009. And so they were really in a desperate situation, and because they just could not live any normal life at their home, and because Gao is such a prominent human rights lawyer, the Chinese government had been, persecuting him by putting him in jail and imprisoned him, tortured him, and also in a sense, also torture his family members because they send a policeman stationed in their living room in the apartment, watching 24 hours a day, 7 days a
The police
week.
lived in their home.
Yeah, in the
Followed
home.
them around the house, into
Yes,
the
around the
bathroom,
house
wherever.
wherever they
Uh-huh.
go.
And
So they went to Thailand. I learned that it was the last working day of the Bush administration, and so I immediately make some phone calls to the relevant officials in the State Department and the White House National Security Council, and they gave all the green light. And so I went to Thailand the next day on Saturday to make some arrangement for them, basically coordinate the resettlement process for them to come to the U.S. And the miracle did happen. I mean, within 11 days,
11 days.
all their immigration paper
This
was
is so
were
amazing.
done. Yeah.
Usually, as the one lady said, 7 years, not
Yes.
11
Oh,
days.
yes.
so.
Yes. Yes.
Uh-huh. So now you are going to have something else big coming up that you're meeting with people in Washington, D.C., and it's just a miracle. You got to get on that website or maybe even get his letter, his newsletter, a wonderful newsletter, very beautiful, and about how he was at the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony. But what's coming up real soon now that maybe Cox will come there. Brother
Yeah.
Cox, what's going on then?
Yeah, the House International Relations Committee, or now they call the Committee on International Affairs, they are going to hold a hearing on global international religious freedom, because the State Department is about to release its annual report on the international religious freedom. So I was invited to testify before that House committee very soon.
Now, Tony and I wanted to go in your baggage
Yeah.
and be with you, but
That would
you
be-
are going to.
No, you are more than welcome to go.
But you are. I think that Brother Cox is actually going.
It seems,
and
yeah,
be
I just
behind
don't
you.
know your busy schedule, but you're more than welcome to go. That would be
I think that
fantastic.
is so. Well, we're actually both Tony's ordained minister.
That would be
And so,
great
yeah.
to pray, you know.
Yes,
for-
pray you through.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And so I hope that we have an opportunity to get into what has happened since Obama's been president, because I understand that there's well, I know that Mrs. Clinton said she is not, if he decides to run again, she is not going to be the Secretary of State. She is not going to serve under him again. So a lot of people are saying words like that, but you said it was very cold, different atmosphere this time.
It's very different,
Than what under
yeah,
Bush
in the
administration.
past 2 years, and I mean, just very simple facts, like we used to organize the human rights lawyers delegation to the U.S. You know, twice or 3 times a year. So in the past 2 years, I mean, every time we organize organize the delegation to the Washington D.C. During the Bush years, we always can get a meeting in the White House with the National Security Council, you know, staffs, and we just in the past 2 years, we got none until February, the latest, you know, meeting, the first meeting we had. And it was basically, I think, a policy mistake for this administration in the past 2 years by taking this so-called non-interference approach. According to what Secretary Clinton proclaimed in Beijing, said, okay, yes, Americans do, you know, care about human rights, do care about other issues, but security, economic issue are the major issue, and human rights should not interfere with other bigger issues. So that sent a very wrong signal to the repressors and in China, and the Chinese government took that as a real, like, you know, approach of ignorance, and basically feel they get a free hand just to do whatever they want against the church, against other political dissidents, human rights lawyers. So last year, according to our own investigation, we just released our annual persecution report the day before yesterday, and the report shows that with our own credible data, last year there are more persecution than the previous year.
Well, we're going to have to continue this next week, but Bob Few, if you want to hear more, I'm sure you want to get this China Aid news brief, ChinaAid.org.
Yes.
.org.
ChinaAid.org.
ChinaAid.org. And you can hear more about that. I'm Bonnie Liphart along with Bob Few, and bless your heart for watching. Second part will be next week.